So welcome back to section 2 on our Applied Fluid Power Connect scenario. I think we've got a little fun conversation today that we're going to talk about a little bit different. It's not just techie. It's for some of the people structure in your organization. Again, I'm Trent Tagg. I'm a national sales and engineering with an Applied Fluid Power. And again, we're talking about Applied Fluid Power Connect, which is our IoT solution to connect to your machines anywhere in the world. And then I've got Adam Fain with me. So Adam, want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. Adam Fain. So, Applied Fluid Power, working on our IoT and electronic controls offering, and working on system solutions. So we're super excited today about just kind of rolling through the human aspect of IoT.
All right. Thank you. So today, as you can see, we got our agenda laid out, what we're going to be doing, how your business can grow without expanding your team. Something that it was a topic that we started off because we keep hearing this as the industry's continuing to grow. So we're going to hit that one, and I'll backstep here in a second. How to reduce unproductive travel time, which we all understand cost of travel today more than ever is expensive, let alone the burden of having to get people leaving. So we threw in another scenario. We've got our HR department, Mary Leckin's going to be stepping in here halfway along the way. She's going to kind of give us some of the pain points that she's going through and the challenges that she's seen from the new hires, the students, people, things that are very important to people today, more so than ever. So from the standpoint of leaving or going away from home, COVID was a big change on that, what people want to do or don't want to do. So we thought it was important to bring a different element in and not just keep it from the technical or the sales side or what it can do, kind of do some impact that you guys are all seeing. And again, the last one here, how to provide a higher level of service to your customers. We all understand it's easy, some days to sell a machine. It's harder to get their customer to return to buying because the level of service you do. We all do that, right? And we hear this statement all the time, it's the level of service after I buy the product. That's what keeps me coming back to the OEMs or the products or whatever I purchase. So Adam, anything you want to add to this?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, and service is the key there, right? I mean, just like you said, Trent, getting customers to come back for that next machine purchase, but service is everything. I mean, we see service awards, on customers' walls when we go in for visits. I mean, that's definitely key. So, being able to just make sure that you're providing that top level service. I mean, we all understand lead times can be tough right now, but you want to make sure that you're always providing, top notch, 110% level of service to your customers.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we all gone into somewhere and bought something to say, I'll never go back and buy them from them again because it was such a nightmare after I bought it. But those are
Yeah.
the learning things, and that's what comes in the industry. And now with the
Yep.
power of the web, we all get rated on what we do. People put clips out there. People spend more time
Yep.
downing your company than they do improving of how great it is. They're more boisterous about how bad the service was or whatever it might be afterwards. So again, we think this is a really good topic. Again, this is something that we can do with this system, this machine, by simply adding to it. So we thought we were going to drive through this and kind of drive it home just to get people's minds thinking differently. And it may be for the engineers. Engineers are techie. Engineers love it and they get it. Maybe this is something from your operations or your owner or whoever. This is something they want to see, right? So all of these links are created, and once we do them, we put them on Applied Fluid Power Connect, and then we set them out onto the YouTube channel so you can share them with everybody. So if something strikes a chord in here and you say, well, I want that because I don't want to be traveling all the time because I want to be able to do this. This is something that we've designed so you can share with people in your organization that it makes sense to them, or you want to make a message to them. So.
Right. Absolutely. All right. So just real high level overview. I know, for those of you who have not seen some of the webinars we've done before. So Applied Fluid Power Connect, high level, you've got your equipment here on the left side. Really, it's kind of a two-part approach, right? We have telematics, which is your physical edge hardware connecting to your machines. We have videos on how to do software updates, how to do programming updates, how to interact on a one-to-one machine level with your machine. But then we have the whole analytics side of it, which is more of your business intelligence, some of your maintenance modules, some of your fleet reports. How do I interact and keep my fleet going, which is much more what we're going to be talking about here on this meeting here. Just how do I manage my fleet here again without growing my engineering resources?
So, to the point, right, that we're obviously going to hear us about growing the engineering resources.
Oh, yeah.
We literally cut out some scenarios. I'm signed up to this. I recommend people who live in this world sign up to this. This is kind of the, the U.S. stats of what's going on in the labor market. this was obviously before important, but it's more important now because everybody knows what's going on with the labor shortage. Wherever you go out, wherever it is, you're trying to hire engineers and you're trying to hire operations, you're trying to hire production people, you're trying to hire service guys. It's not easy. It is a major, major burden on all corporations today, no matter what it is. Part of the supply chain shortage was it is, just it's hard to get people in, right down to your restaurant, right? So I mean, like the sign right here, help wanted, probably looks like it came from a restaurant. This
Yeah,
is
maybe in front
real.
of a Starbucks or something, sure.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I mean, there's still I got McDonald's around me that still you can't go in the building yet. You got to only go through drive-through. I mean, there's just it's so different and painful. There's a lot of cussing I think going on when every time I go to the place and the door is shut and there's 20 cars in the line to get through a crazy Big Mac. So
That's right. That's
not
right.
that I do that often.
No, no, me neither.
So this stat right here, again, we just cut and pasted this out of a stat that came in. It shows the challenge of what it is, the unemployment side of the fence. I mean, anybody can copy and paste this and go look at this in a little more detail. It's kind of an eye chart, depending on what you're looking on, whether your phone or whatever you're watching this on. But again, we wanted to put some facts out there. I know that for us, it's tough. I was just actually with our HR this week as we were at one of our locations that we do a lot of recruiting from, our higher end engineers and our electrical people and such. So it's a challenge. And some of this stuff about travel, big things coming up is one of the main things. Well, how much do I have to travel? Well, how far do I have to be gone? How many nights a week do I have to be gone? That's the burden we're all dealing with. So Adam, anything you want?
Well, I mean, I'll just put some color to that. Every one of you customers that I go to visit, I mean, that's a continual issue. You're looking for people, with certain skill sets. Obviously, there's a massive train up depending on the skill set that you're looking for. And we all know that, if you are able to find someone to join your team, they're generally not productive day one. There's a whole learning curve there. In fact, you're probably even less productive with having to train them up. So, yeah, this is a very real problem. I mean, I know that everyone watching right now has experienced this in some level, if not, directly experienced this issue. I mean, this is certainly a painful issue right now for 2022.
Yeah, again, I'm just looking at that chart and reading the information again. It's staggering. It's nuts. So,
Yep.
so we're going to spend a little bit of time around this conversation because as Adam and I were kind of putting this together, it became deeper and deeper. And again, like this last week when I was out with some customers and doing this recruiting event and speaking to a bunch of different students. Um, uh, the differences of what's needed is so great, and we're talking with these companies, whether I don't know where you're at in your position or your organization, if you're a Caterpillar or if you're a JLG or JLB. I don't know where you're at with that. However, but when you're that customer and you start selling machines, and I know one of the customers that we have in Michigan, when our sales guys calls on, the biggest change of their industry, they make a small articulating off-road forklift for specialty industries. The biggest change in their industry is when they put it on the web. So they started advertising on the web. So they always did the shows. Shows, obviously, we all know is very powerful. However, it's a very special or smaller niche group. But now with like the power of YouTube and all these things, you can now market and advertise on the web. People can get on, and now you've created the opportunity to expand your business so fast and globally like we've never had before. And that's a big challenge. And that comes with more support, right? Adam, you want to add some stuff to this?
Yeah, I was visiting one customer, and their comment is they're a Midwestern customer, and they were saying that they're shipping machines, excuse me, they're shipping machines to California like never before, and they're even saying that's on the other side of the mountain. It might as well be on the other side of the world, right? It is so far away from their traditional customer base, which I don't know, what would you say, Trent? 20 years or so ago, customers usually sold 2 states away. Roughly, it was generally an easier way, to get in your truck and drive there to do a service call. But now, we have OEMs that are in California selling to, all the way up into Maine, right? I mean, they're all over, and it's just unfeasible to just get in the truck and drive there. I mean, you'd be driving for 3 days, right? So we're finding that customers are having to get on airplane flights to get information that they need. From my role as an engineer, if I just need to get some information off that maybe requires a special CAN tool or just some information that might not be readily accessible, Yeah, it's a whole day of traveling to get out there for maybe, 20 minutes of data to really be able to troubleshoot a machine. So I mean, it's a very real issue. And Trent, you hit the nail on the head there with YouTube. I mean, once you're, promoting your machine on YouTube, I mean, it's everywhere.
Right.
You're not just limited to that little, roughly two state area that people used to sell in.
Scales really fast. And I think the third topic we had here, the additional machine production requires additional support. And that's factual from the really heavy statement. And, Adam and I were talking about this before we started, we're driving this down. The one big challenge that comes is, you start off selling 10 machines. You start off selling 20 machines. You're selling 50 machines, you're selling 100 machines, wherever that scale is. No matter what happens, you're one person typically within an engineering, if you're electrical side of the fence, you typically have one person supporting that. But as that goes, those machines are still out there. They're still living in the industry. So your name is on that piece of equipment. And now
Yep.
you're 5 years into this and you've got, let's say, 1,000 machines out there. Well, you still have to live with that machine and your resource you have to get bigger and bigger, and you have to be able to service that piece. Well, you're typically you're in staff house unless you got a great distribution network. That helps a ton, right? So if you're a bigger player, you got
Yep.
a distribution that's set up all over in the different states geography wise. That's awesome. That helps you a ton. I mean, this helps them as well because they get the same challenge. But when you're an OEM, this keeps going. You need to keep your name really positive because you want more people coming or you want people buying your old machines so they can buy new machines. So, but that requires more support. The only way you can do that. Again, what we're going to talk about here is, like on this map shows, we've got machines all over.
Yep.
And we'll break this down. We'll get a little bit deeper into it, but it's probably a good segue to talk about how we can get to that machine faster and understand what's wrong with that machine faster by being able to dial into that machine. I mean, I think everybody can understand that piece. Um, you know,
Right.
and then the next piece that getting, I brought this one up, getting past that $10 million mark. When you get up to the $10 million, and I think most OEM or CEOs can make this statement, whoever owns that business, that first 10 million was probably pretty easy. And I think that's a pretty normal statement. The first $10 million of business and sales after you get through your designs and stuff, it's pretty easy to get to. Getting past the $10 million becomes very complex because everything is getting scale, much larger scales, and it goes in a very fast inclination of growth of people, sources, the manufacturing pace, the tools coming in, the product coming in. I mean, it's a real thing. And
Well,
go
yeah, and I
ahead.
run into this all the time too. On this for the smaller OEMs, your engineering person is your tech support person, is your field support person. I mean, it's all one and the same person. They designed it, so they know that machine, very well. So, that customer that's in that smaller category, it's that one person. Granted, when we'll talk about having them out of the office here in a little bit, but it's that one person that kind of knows all that. But yeah, you get past that roughly 10 million mark, it's now the engineering guy who's in the office or working on some other machine. Now you have your tech support person who is a different person now who maybe doesn't understand the machine quite as closely as the engineer does. It's like you said, it's a whole shift point of how the business strategy works.
Well, and I'm literally sitting here as you started throwing that on. I can think of two owners of the company that you work with personally
Yep.
that are the tech support. But these are
Right.
big companies. I mean, they're
Right.
selling a lot of machines, but the two owners are the guys that are going out and doing this. I know multiple of them, but I know two that you were just specifically working on that if they could do this in minutes from their office, let alone traveling to go get to that customer, driving, flying, wherever it may be, and how does that owner continue to run the business when he's gone? So
Yeah,
I
that
think
owner can continue to spend time growing their business and not having to support, machine number 234 out of 500, right? They're in the office growing their business rather than traveling.
yeah, because you've got people, you've got salaries, you've got incomes, you got to write checks, you got to hire people, you got to train people, you got all this other going on, and you're going out to do this with a machine. So if we could create and we have a solution that you can connect the machine, do diagnostics, and train people, you can see it happen in real time on this on your computer screen. Really be connected within historical data, things that had happened, where the customer can say, "Hey, this happened back then. The same travel happened last week." To be able to dial into that and see that scenario when the customer's on the phone with you, very powerful.
And you know what, that probably brings up a whole nother conversation here. So I mean, really, when we talk about the financial side, the cost of having someone travel, right? So
Oh my God, yeah.
I yeah, I just pulled up a recent one that I did. So this was, spending 3 nights supporting a customer. And anyone who has ever approved an expense report knows these numbers. Now, obviously, it's going to be a little different if it's one night or if it's 5 nights, obviously. But, we felt like this was a really good example. This was roughly 3 states away. This was 3 nights of on-site support for an engineering person like myself. And we can see for one machine support, I mean, you're just a little under $5,000 estimate. I
Well,
mean,
you don't
this,
have to fly first class in.
well, yeah, I do. Come on, it's business class, right? You're
But
right.
this is the thing that when we're breaking this down, we're like, wow, this is actually really important, and it's fun when you actually. It's painful when you actually put it down, and you understand now why the controllers are saying, wait, is this travel really necessary, right? Because when you break this down, a
Yep.
3 night trip, right? So this customer calls on Saturday or Monday or whatever it is, depending what industry or when they're running the machines. If it's agricultural, they're running all the time during that certain time of year. You've got to get there. When this thing isn't running, they're not making money. And if a lot of different agricultural stuffs, it's like you have a very short window. When it's time to pull or pluck or pull, it's time to get out of the ground. They've waited all summer, whatever it may be, it's time to get out. So you've got to go. You know, depending on what your engineer costs are per day. And when we say engineering costs per day, what does it cost to have my engineer, my owner, whoever it is that's going out there? That's kind of what we're looking at when we say it's $1,000 a day. What's a billable rate per se, or what is a burden if I didn't have this guy in the building? And if it's the owner, it's a heck of a lot more than $1,000 a day because he's missing
Yep.
all those other things we talked about a little bit earlier.
Well, and that's a really good point too, because if I'm out traveling helping this customer, granted, I'm providing an excellent level of support for this one customer, but all my other customers are getting support through this, which is, just quick, one sentence, hey, yes, do this on the machine. They're not getting that support that we talked about earlier. They're not getting that 110% level, excellent level of support. So now, even though I'm working on this, not only do I have all the financial costs, but we've all seen this before. We get emails that pile up. We get people that want additional things while we're traveling. They're not getting that level of support, and they're saying, "Hey, what's going on with this OEM? Why can't I get my machine working? Why can't I get anyone to call me back?" It's because they're stuck doing this.
Yeah, I mean, so and again, anybody can extrapolate these numbers however you want to do it, but these are real
Right.
numbers, and I think they're real grab numbers. They're live numbers. They're just as of recently. When the other day when we grabbed these off, there was a polling about March, I don't know, 19th or whatever the day was,
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty
but they're
recently
real
here.
numbers. So I guess yeah, let's move from there. I think we've drove this point, but if you look at the bottom right there,
Yep.
total cost just to deal with that one piece of equipment to keep that manufacturer OEM happy, you get almost $5,000.
Yep. Yep. So the other thing I'll just mention real quick, I have kids at home, right? I have a family at home, right? And this is something that you could probably never really put down a hard number on an ROI, right? But this is something, this is the truth. I mean, if I'm gone 3 nights, my kids are not seeing me. Granted, we've tried to go towards, the what is it, Facebook Messenger, whatever they have, where you can, video chat with them, but that's so not replacing being home with the family, or if it's a cat or a dog that greets you when you come home. It's just not the same. And for those of us who have traveled a fair amount for work, inevitably you're going to get that one meeting that crosses over someone's birthday or an anniversary date or something, and those are the trips that are really painful to take. But you need to provide that level of customer service for your customers. This keeps people at home. This allows someone to get in an email or a phone call to do some troubleshooting at 10 a.m. and have that issue done and cleaned up by lunchtime, right? And then they're going to go home in the evening, spend time with the family. And we're finding, and we'll have HR people talking about it shortly, but we're finding that this is something that more and more employees are really valuing. When they look at employment with a company, they want that time home. They don't want to travel that 50, 60, 70% of the time. They want to travel 10%, right?
Well, and I hate to bring the pandemic into it, but this is a good time to bring the pandemic into it because this is the
Absolutely.
real thing, and I think every one of us are dealing with. All of us, I know myself, a lot of people, even within our corporation, learned to be home, right? And I don't have small kids anymore. My kids are, one's off and one's just finishing college with their masters. And so that's not so big. But when you have that smaller family and you got your younger kids, they got used to having you around, dad being around, mom being around, all of that time frame. Well, not only the kids, we got used to it, right? We got used to being in our own lives. And up to the pandemic per se, I travel often. We're always traveling. But nowadays, the new employees coming in or people jumping jobs are jumping, they're jumping because they want to be home. And if we can save them that opportunity to not be gone so often, this is even this week, how often, at our seminar piece we were just doing, all the interviews, one of the main questions, how much travel?
Yep.
How long am I be gone? What's my quality of life look like? That's more important than ever. And people are jumping. And that's why so many people want to work remotely now. They want to be doing all this. We're not saying we're going to give you the ability to not travel. We're saying we're helping you travel less and make the travel when you make those shots, those trips worthy and worthwhile, and the expenses worthy and worthwhile, because nowadays there's a lot of things right down to these type of meetings that we're able to do today, and we don't have to go all around the country and be gone so often. So kind of our point, and I love your little drawing here.
That's right. Thanks.
That's pretty good. Right down to the little miss you hanging out the window. I don't recommend hanging out the window saying miss you. And I am noticing there's no mask on that person hanging out the window.
Yeah, that's still a requirement, isn't it?
That's still a requirement on planes. You have to have
Can
that mask.
can see the flight attendants right now trying to pull you back in, but
All right.
uh,
Well, this is a good time. We're going to bring in Mary Lecken from our HR department because this is where she's going to help us illustrate some information and things again from our aspects, from sales and engineering piece. We don't always think about as much as we should, but Mary's going to put some color to that piece. And I know even our next seminar coming up, we've got some financial stuff for a financial person that's going to come in and really help people understand when they're counting the numbers and looking at the books. How does this stuff all impact? Whether it be selling more parts or products. But again, we're going to move into Mary Lecken. So, Mary, would you join us?
Hello, Trent. Thanks for the introduction. I'm Mary Lecken, and my role here is I'm the Director of Human Resources for our Fluid Power Division. And this is certainly a topic, the whole recruiting of top talent for applied fluid power. I'm very passionate about it. And so I'm excited to talk with all of you today about this topic. But I have to say, Trent and Adam, when I saw this slide and was watching the presentation, I thought, wow, this is exactly what I'm hearing every day is, not only do our associates, enjoy having more time at home with their families, but as we are seeing applicants coming in day to day, this is exactly what they're talking about, especially since the pandemic. People have gotten used to, working from home, and that's what they see themselves being able to do, being able to work from home, spend more time with their families. And so this is definitely something as an organization that was new to our cultures is
Right.
being able to balance a little bit better the work life balance situation in general. So
Well,
definitely
real
I
quick,
see
what I
this.
think is great is Adam, which is one of our engineers that does all this traveling. He's the one that actually drew this picture.
yeah.
So I think
Yeah,
I think it was pretty fast to heart for him
that's
to
that's
draw this
impressive.
picture.
Well, I did have a little help from my daughter, so if that counts, I can't take all the credit, but
Excellent. Well, I thought that was, just very interesting slide. So, but again, I'm glad and happy to be here today. Trent, Adam, thank you for inviting me. I think it's a really important topic to talk about our commitment to our talent, to onboarding and recruiting and building our bench of top talent for the future. And I know there's a lot of things we're doing. Just to kind of give you a sense for the organization, we have a talent, as you guys know, a talent acquisition team here at corporate headquarters here in Cleveland, for those of you that don't know that. In Cleveland, Ohio is where I'm located. But we have a complete talent acquisition team that does recruiting and sourcing for almost 7,000 employees. So big team here, and they're doing a lot day to day to try to attract and onboard new top talent. And obviously, Applied's no different than a lot of companies out there today who, with the tight labor market, we're certainly finding or experiencing our share of challenges. But the team has really risen to the occasion with, working with partners to enhance our social media presence is another good way that we've been able to really get a greater attention to applied fluid power is through the multiple social media platforms that we're a part of today. So they've done a great job of really getting that underway, as well as working with our digital marketing department to add, really good information about the company, about the experience and of work, what it's like to work for, applied industrial technology. So we're definitely doing a lot of work in that area. But
Yeah. So, I mean, real quick, I mean, I think everybody on this, whether you're an OEM or a user at the end of the day, we're all struggling with the same challenges. The one thing, and the same pain points. And, was some years ago, we started our venture working with all these different universities nationally to build what you've created is our funnel to pull this talent in. But
absolutely.
and it didn't come easy, right? I mean, this was a
Right.
lot of hard work to build these relationships because one of the main things that we've seen is people didn't really understand what the fluid power, workspace was. There's all these new cool techie jobs, but what we do as a company is very, very techie and cool, but it's high end. So we've had to understand how to get these people in. And maybe you can speak to some of that time.
Absolutely. And so, as I mentioned, our talent acquisition team, they're handling the day-to-day recruiting. And my role, so where I come in is just I wanted to paint the picture of kind of we've got this big team, and then here I am, I'm really the HR business partner, if you will, for Applied Fluid Power. My role is to establish or work to establish great relationships with top engineering universities in the U.S., which one university comes to mind that we've had a great relationship with over the past 7 years. And Trent, you are very familiar since you're my partner in crime as we go out to these universities
Right.
and do presentations for the engineering students. Now, when you think of presentations, ours are a little different because what we do is, to your point, Trent, trying to bring them up to speed on what we do in fluid power. So we do presentations to actually help the engineers understand what it is we do day to day by sharing with them projects,
Yeah.
different projects that we work on. And we see a lot of excitement, don't we, Trent, because
Oh,
of the diversity in the things that we do. It excites them. They want to come work for Applied Fluid Power because they see all of this cool stuff that they'll get a chance to work on and be a part of.
well, and you made a huge, huge point topic right there. So the one thing that we continue to see is as we talk with all these different students nationally is the fact that they love the flavor. When we start breaking out that this goes like this, and our OEMs, which are smaller OEMs, it's typically obviously we work, with the Deeres and the Caterpillars on higher scale levels. But when we're working with the smaller OEMs, the 100 million, 50 million, 30 million, 10 million, 1 million, and the startup companies, our engineers consistently are working on multiple platforms instantaneously. And our customer OEM base likes to do it within 6 months, a year, where a John Deere takes multiple years to launch something. So they love how engaged they are on many levels all the time. And I can't speak to that more than that because working with these OEMs, everybody's looking to start something off from scratch immediately.
Absolutely. And, just to add to the university relations, we have really built a great reputation at the schools for being a company that's committed to a great onboarding experience. We are committed and invest heavily in the ongoing learning, development, and training. When an engineer joins our team, as you're well aware, guys, they join our team, we have a structured training plan for them that helps get them prepared, whether it's for various fluid power certifications that we're looking for them, to do or to accomplish, I should say. So when we show up at these universities, our company presentations are well attended because these students are wanting to get in front of us because of what they've heard about our commitment and our leadership commitment to onboarding the best and the brightest engineering talent for our fluid power team. So very excited about that.
No, good points. And, again, we as a company, we go to market with our engineering and our resources to work with the OEMs to keep them up to speed on what they're on the level of technology like a John Deere is doing. But we don't do any steel work per se.
Mhm.
So we have to partner with our OEMs to in our engineering resources to bring their machine up to what the market expects as a Caterpillar level or John Deere level. So that level of technology, but that doesn't come easy. And to your point of what you stated, the amount of resources and time we dedicate to the newer people coming in, or even some of the people that have been in resources that have been in our world for a long time on controls and such, there's a lot of time to that. But that is our due diligence to do that to keep our market moving forward because it's changing so fast.
And just to add one last point as it relates to the engineering talent we bring in is we're also constantly looking to build our bench to make sure that we've got a great pipeline of individuals, highly educated individuals joining our group that we can bring up, through the organization. As I mentioned, career paths are always extremely important as we're looking to onboard talent too. They want to understand, what's the future look like for me. So that's really another area that's really important to us as it relates to retention as well.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate, this is a different way to give a different perspective because we always look at stuff from the engineering aspect, but we've got to really start focusing on the human aspect. And, Adam, thanks for keeping this shot up on this route because I think this is
Yep.
very impactful. This is real. And when we're out with all the different people, and I know everybody here can say the same thing, when you're able to do a diagnostics on a machine that is 5 states, 10 states, or in a different country without having to get on a plane, you can do a couple within a day and hopefully probably solve the problem or figure out the problem or reprogram the machine. That's our whole conceptual topic around the IoT. But there's more to IoT than just a part going on a machine. There's that human impact piece that we really got to start considering because it's the difference between somebody coming to work with you or not work with you is what tools do you have? Because we get that all the time. What tools do you have to train you? What tools do you have to do diagnostics or troubleshooting? This piece is one of those tools that will hopefully help our customer base, our OEM base, attract talent that, because no one wants that 50% lifestyle of traveling all the time anymore. At least the newer students or people coming into the business do not want that. So again, the IoT piece for us is not just it's a hardware piece. It's not just data piece. It's a personal piece of how to
Mhm.
save your people and keep your people at home more often.
Right. Excellent.
All right. Well, again, I
Absolutely.
appreciate your time and helping us with that. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's it. I mean, we're constantly every day looking for new ways to reach out to assess talent, whether it even be through technical schools, not just engineering schools, but local technical schools, depending on where our subsidiary locations are. We partner with the National Fluid, excuse me, the National Fluid Power Association, and they've been a great partner in helping us identify programs like Heroes Make America, those types of programs. So we're doing things day to day and constantly to try to assess and onboard top talent for our organization.
Well, great. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're going on vacation next week, so good for you.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy that. And again, thanks so much. I appreciate you joining us.
Well, thanks so much for having me. Have a good day, you guys.
Yep. Bye.
Take care.
All right.
All right. Well, I don't know about you, Trent. That was super helpful. Just getting, the HR side of this whole IoT puzzle, right? So, I think what I'd like to do now is just kind of focus a little bit more on kind of what it looks like in the portal, some maybe a little bit more of the technical pieces. How do you go about actually getting some of this information that we've been talking about already? So, from our portal, being able to log onto a machine, see, information on a dashboard, super easy, right? You can see the geolocation, and in this case here, you can see some engine temps, but for anyone who's actually done a tech support call, we always we've ran into this at some point in our careers is, well, the machine was acting up 2 weeks ago. Last week it was acting up as well, but Friday it was working good, and maybe today is Wednesday, right? Whatever today is,
Oh
but
my
it's
God.
working really good today, right?
Well, we always hear that, right? So there's always that little phantom thing. It only happens when so and so is driving. We always
Right.
say it's probably just you. But now when somebody says, "Hey, this happened when I was out there and it felt like a little hiccup," we can literally, to your point where you're going with this, because
Right.
there's so many times that we hear it all the time. It's like, this just happened. And I do the same thing where it's like, I'm driving something or whatever it is, like, no, this just happened. I felt it. Well, we can actually go look for what you felt.
Yeah, because all of our information, not only is it accessible when the machine is online, excuse me, it's also accessible when the machine is offline because we're just accessing database information at this point. The machine doesn't have to be online pulling information off of the box to get this. We can actually go in, and in this case here, I'm looking at some information that happened several months ago. It's not like we're only keeping the last week or two and we've got a quick rush and get on it to see the info. We can see what this machine was doing when it was first commissioned. We can see what it was doing 6 months after it was commissioned. We can see what it did 30 minutes ago, right? We can compare all that information. So in this case here, looking at some pressures in a graph. Okay, what
Well, hold on. So help me
yeah,
understand this real quick. And I think I got the answer, but I want to validate this.
absolutely.
But I can trend line, right? So I can say, hey, when this machine was brand new, I can actually show like a graph pattern that I should be running in this pattern. That this is a perfect running machine. If it does follow to validate lack of having to go into a service call or calling somebody, I can actually show or validate if this is my perfect world and this does this, I should probably be looking somewhere.
So
Right?
perfect example for that, right? So anyone in the fluid power industry knows that charge pressure is a real key for any hydrostatic drive, right? And if we know that that machine, maybe this machine has been in service for 2 years, and we know that off the factory floor it was right where it should be, it's working great, we could easily go back and say, okay, what was the charge pressure in the first month after it was commissioned? Hey, we know that's a good working machine, it's working right where it should be, and maybe we come up with 350 psi, right? But now we're having issues. Okay, when did we start having issues? Maybe. Okay, maybe we started having issues 2 weeks ago. Let's go look and see what the charge pressure has been over the last 2 weeks, and really be able to see what was it when it was working well, and what is it now.
Yeah, but do they have to go do this, or is that an actual message trigger where I can set a parameter and I
You can
can get
set
it triggered?
parameters. You can set parameters. You can set alerts for this. So if you know a window, like if we know that we can't go underneath a certain value, you could easily set an alert for it. But
And that's where you get that text message or the email piece, right?
yep,
Okay.
you can set it up for either. You can set it up for a group. So if you want it to, if you have a
Okay.
dealer network where you want it to email, someone in a service role at a dealership, you could do
Yeah.
that. Right.
Helpful. Yeah.
Yep. And it's very easy. You're just going in there and you're just filtering the data based on time. So you're doing a start date and an end date, and you're grabbing information at that time.
Okay.
Super easy to do that. So a lot of times, when we talk about electronic controls for a machine, right, there's a ton of parameters that go in here, right? So, this example here, we've got IMINs and IMAXs for coils, and that is nothing that we would ever expect any service technician or any end user operator to have to know to operate that machine. But there's so many different parameters and settings and curves and stuff that we use when we program these machines. Some we will allow the user to change on a display, some we won't. So, maybe there's a ramp rate, maybe some people want a machine to come on a little slower, maybe a little bit faster. But the fundamental problem with that is that if you have a lot of settings, you can actually get yourself kind of, wrapped around the axle a little bit by having so many settings off that it's hard to troubleshoot it. So I get this all the time. I'll have someone call me up and say, hey, what should this value be? And I'm going to pick one here, for example, this float time in milliseconds. In this example, it's at 100 milliseconds, but maybe they had it at 500 or something, right? What should it be? So me as the support person, I'm trying to figure out, well, what is it now? So I'm trying to guide that end user to a screen to tell me what it is now, and then I got to tell them how to update it. So that's the other thing I'm going to comment here down here. Being able to remotely update these parameters through the portal, be able to actually go in and say, okay, let's update the template of this machine. Let's go and change the parameters, the user adjustable parameters. Let's go set them back to factory. Or we know that maybe this user needs to have a slightly different set because of a different scenario that they're in. We can then go through the portal and make these adjustments and send them out there without having to just, here again, make that flight, make that trip out there just to change one little parameter, right? Something that would take 2 minutes in software to update on site, you can do right here.
Well, just let's make sure. I want to make sure we don't plagiarize anybody because I heard you plagiarize Chuck Schulte, one of our sales guys from Fluid Tech,
That's right.
with being wrapped around the axle.
Yeah, that's right. That is his word, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Nice.
But yeah, so and the other area that we see a lot of use for this is that if you do have a rental agreement with that end user of being able to enable or disable the machine based on the service contract. So one other little plug I put in here, but being able to interact with that machine just while it's live, while it's working, right?
Well, all of this is awesome, right? So I think people are digesting, and again, we're not trying to get too techy on this, but we want to show the different stuff. But I do want to take one of the points on this, subscription commands. Whether you run in a fleet rental market or whatever it is, and let's just say you've got a fleet of machines that you're renting out this equipment or whatever it may be, however you manage that rental program. This thing not only gives you the ability to actually see where that piece of equipment is at if somebody isn't paying their subscription on time or paying their monthly lease due, but one of the nice features that this gives you is when that machine is sitting there, you can have it actually command it to not start back up. So when it shuts down, to safe conditions, they shut it down to go start back up. You can actually have it so it doesn't start back up, and you can have it flash the screen, hey, please contact blah, 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 which means give me your credit card number. So that's a great feature on there. If that fits your world, it's a great feature.
Yeah, and I had one customer that was actually in the aerial work platform market that said, hey, if they don't pay their subscription, we don't want it to go above 15 feet, right? We can always bring the operator back down, but then it can't go back up, right? Like you said, Trent, bringing it to a safe location. We're not just killing the machine, like it's not an excavator like halfway through a dig and all of a sudden just stops, right? You're bringing it to a safe location, or you make the machine work so slow that at least they could move it and get it off to the side of a work site, but no one would want to run it for a week straight, right?
Yeah,
But
all
that's
things you
all
can
what you want to
customize.
do.
Yeah, be able to customize parameters. You guys make the decision. The OEM makes the decision of if I don't get this, I'm going to allow it to do this. So we're not making any determinations, but we work with you to make that calibration happen.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing is we're not telling you it needs to be one way, right? We want to listen to you. How do you want your machine to act when the subscription expires?
Great point. Very, very good point.
Yep. So, you know, we've all ran into this several times, right? So, if there is an update that needs to be done to a machine, right? So, they come in and they say, hey, we want you to update a line in your programming software, and we find out that okay, let's make a change order. We issue the change order, and then we've got to schedule time with that customer to actually go out there and get on
Great
site.
example. Great example. Here I am. I don't know if you can see this. I just got my service thing. Take your truck into the place and go get this, this, and this done. Well, I know what I'm going to do with this card. I ain't going to do
Right.
it. I know that this is going like this, and it's going in the garbage until I actually send it back there for some other thing. I go get an oil change or whatever. They're going to do those updates. I am not scheduling the time to go do that. Not
Right.
happening.
Right. Well, and yeah, I mean, you bring it in for your next oil change or something, and yeah, you find out there's 8 software updates that needs to be done. I mean, not
Right.
too many people actually bring it in there, and even that too. Now we're talking about machines that are your production. They are this is your business. We're not just talking about a vehicle here, right? I mean, we're talking about something that is in the field making you money. Even harder to pull it out of the field just to do a software update, right? But even then you've got to schedule travel plans. We've got to spend time actually traveling to the machine. Generally, if you're going to have an engineer person walk out there with a programming cable to make a software update, you're not going to do that in a mining pit, right? You're going to have to pull it off the job site or to the side of it, get it to a safe location, do the update, make some verifications. There's a lot that goes with it, right?
Yeah.
But with doing this through IoT, right, you can do that change order. You can make whatever change that you need. You can actually then put that in the portal. And I think everyone's familiar with the concept of like doing a Windows update, right? Microsoft doesn't reach out to you and say, hey, are you free at 2 o'clock in the afternoon so we can update your laptop, right? I mean, I've never got a notification like that, right? It's always, hey, there's a new software update. It's going to get downloaded and it's going to get applied at 3 in the morning. I come to work the next day, it's updated.
Yeah, the machine's going to delay on startup or whatever, but it'll go through a slower start. And you actually make a really good play of conversation where we're talking about this, but to be able to get these out there without having to travel somebody out there to go do this and say, hey, I'm gonna have John show up at your site on XX day, and on X day, you're gonna have to shut that machine down that day. So I have that travel cost, which is more scheduled travel cost, so it'll probably be lesser, and it'd be my burden. But I'm still losing John. But how many times have you gone someplace where you actually got to go do the work and they say, I can't take the machine down right now. I just got this contract. I've got to get this out, whether it be wood or whatever it is. I've got to do this
all
right
the
now.
time.
And so John is sitting there in a hotel room somewhere waiting for this machine to come down. That's the one big piece that happens all the time. And I know our engineers deal with all the time, is they travel somewhere and they say, I can't take this machine down right now. You're going to have to wait till X.
Well, and how many times too do you find that a machine gets started up in the morning and then it will idle for 15, 20, 30 minutes or so as it's warming up? You know, a lot of the diesel engines that are out there do have kind of a warm up period. You know, we want to make sure that you're up to operating temp. You know, we have customers that are saying, hey, it would be really cool if in the morning I go to turn the key switch on, I fire the engine up. A couple seconds later, the display boots up, says, hey, there's a software update available. If he can go and say, yes, you know, do the update right now, everything else is warming up. It's just sitting there. I mean, that's a great time to do a software update. The other way is to do it, you know, offline in the evening where the user doesn't even see it. But here again, you've got maybe a little bit of advantageous time there in the beginning as you're letting things warm up to do a 3 to 5 minute software update if you need to do that, right? You're not having
So
to do it
not to
in the middle of the day.
well, all right. So not to beat this dead horse, right? But I think hopefully people are understanding the power of what this can do for you, for you and your company, and lessen your need for greater resources to go out and do this. So
Right. And yeah, and with the update applied to the Applied Fluid Power Connect portal, here again, you can update machines as they come online. You're not having to do it, okay, machine A, now I'm going to go do machine B, machine C. So I think everyone, you know, attending this right now probably understands this diagram here, but it's just you're doing one update to the portal, and then from there you're flashing it to the box.
and again, keep in mind that when you look at this, if some of this isn't making sense of how I do this stuff and how this happens, we've got a series of webinars going on with this on this
Right.
topic. The previous one can show how easy this can be done. So we're not talking anything very complicated. I know that you've done some different machines with like 40, 50 horsepower machines that got quite a bit of things happening on them. But we're talking about adding something in that can play on any platform virtually within 15, 20 minutes, and then be shooting information onto the web within setting up your web page 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, all of this is like a 30-minute structure. Obviously, it's only hooking like 3, 4 wires, depending what you're doing. But overall, it's very simplistic, and it can be added onto new machines as well as old machines. The one thing we were going to mention earlier, and I forgot to state, but I want to bring it up real quick,
Mhm.
is we're pushing all of the OEMs we work with on a new platform. We're pushing all of them to put this on at minimum for a prototype machine, because prototype machine is huge from the standpoint of how much data I can get out there and actually validate the machine of, did I oversize? Did I undersize? Is it doing this? What's the working parameters? So now you can actually pull historical data off of this machine as is before it even goes out in the field. So that obviously we've got more videos on this, but keep in mind, those you can go forward in the videos, you can get old YouTube videos, you can pull this, or you can contact somebody within our group and we can break that down. But important stuff that will really save you, potentially thousands of dollars, because if you're oversizing the engine, if you're buying a 50 horsepower, you only need 25 or 30 or something. There's many ways to save dollars that this does too. So sorry for the tangent. I know you wanted to move to this.
No, that's good. Thank you for that. Just to kind of tag off what you said there too. So once you're making updates, whatnot, and you've realized that there's maybe some conditions that you want to get alerted on, right? This is probably not too much secret sauce here, right? But if you want to get a text message, if something happens again, if pressures go too high or something happens, right? So there's a full email and text message system that goes in here. Here again, just kind of like what you had mentioned there, but if you're making updates to a machine and you want to be alerted if something happens again, simple alert. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I think we know how that works, but just high level, that's in there as well. One of the last things I'll make the play on here too. So, here again, check engine light comes on the dashboard. What's wrong with the engine, right? So with Applied Fluid Power Connect, there's just a little option as you're setting up that machine model. If you want to check for engine faults, you just check that. Very simple to do. You don't have to program this in. You just check it, turn it on. As long as the gate or the telematics box is on your engine J1939 can, we're looking for all those engine codes. So when you get that support call, hey, I've got an issue with my machine, I got to check engine light on, the machine won't work. You're logging into our portal. You're already seeing information right away what those check engine codes are. You're not having to do any special sequence. You're not having to have the guy pull information off of it.
Well,
Super
and
easy.
so the key, right? So, this is assignable, right? So you have the ability to assign this over or send this over to somebody. So if you just want to keep your engineering group in this piece, fine. If you want to keep your operation groups into this, if the customer just wants to have access to the portal, so you have ability to assign who can see what.
Right.
And you can see many different levels. So this isn't just a broad open information of data being able to be tied into, let alone our safety walls that we have in place for this. But this is assignable to information.
Yeah, and speaking to that point too, I mean, I know, we have covered just an absolute wealth of information in this webinar so far. Obviously, certainly contact us if you have more questions too. But I mean, we've covered, the whole, flight aspect of it, the whole cost of having people travel. Trent, you did a great job talking about just expanding your business, getting past kind of that kind of magic 10 million mark, and just what does that look like to grow a business, right? But I mean, I think there was so much we talked about. I mean, the whole family side of it, being at home with family, being able to just, update remote parameters, be able to flash controllers remotely, just being able to continuously, like I said earlier, continuously provide that 110% level of service that our customers expect. I mean, here again, lead times might be long, but we absolutely have to provide top level support. And we found that through our own group, using this type of software, of being able to continuously provide more and more layers of support for you and your customers. We've found that going to, IoT solutions to be able to provide that support has been absolute key. So, I mean, I know we covered a lot, probably feels like drinking from a fire hose here, but, we really believe in this, that this is really a way to just, you get more and more efficiency out of each of the people that you have, being able to provide that extra level of support, right?
No, it's a great statement. I appreciate you closing it up like that, because I just want to, re-illustrate the standpoint of, hey, if something of this hit home to you or doesn't hit home, but you think you want it to hit home to somebody within your organization, again, take the video link, send it off to them, let them see it. And then you can also go in and see all the different ones, because this is the same real life that we're living in all the time. You can see all the stuff on the screen right now. Everybody can read what's important to them, but this is the real life from the standpoint of even our engineers, the ability to get to a machine that's in California when Adam's sitting in Iowa, or wherever that scenario lays out. We can do that so fast, so efficiently, and update that piece of equipment. We're just trying to let you guys understand that this is a very reachable goal, and it's two-way communication now. It's not the fleet management tool that people have been seeing and working with, where it's just
Yep.
data going out, customizable. This is kind of like our a la carte solution. We've got 3 different solutions, that we play with, and that you'll see on our applied fluid power. You got 3 platforms. This is kind of talking around the a la carte, where you've got much more data customized for specialized machines. So again, I want to thank you guys. I know this is a lot. I always, you guys probably figure out, I always enjoy talking about this. It's exciting to me because from our team's aspect, it really is giving them the ability to save a lot of travels and trips and dollars, expenditures, and not get hit from the P&L and have people saying, why are so many people traveling this different direction? Because we're doing this many more machines. So this gives us that ability to reach at a much faster pace, to support our OEMs at a much faster pace, and to help them design machines at a higher level to make sure we're using the right parameters and we're catching the gotchas way ahead of time. Because, and I think maybe our next segment, we'll talk about a couple of the gotchas that we recently caught that were being out there that could have greatly, prevented a lot of scenarios if they would have been watching and monitoring, or had this on their machine. So I think we'll cover that. But again, I want to thank you guys, Trent and Tag. You'll see a follow-up sheet here that's going to flash in a few seconds. It kind of shows our next presentations, what they are. I think there's an SRQ code that's going to be on there. So have your phone ready if you want to do an automatic dial up to that, or registration to it. Just hold it up to the screen. You can pull it from there. But again, thank you. I appreciate your guys' time. And Adam, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Trent.
All right. Well, have a great day, everybody.